Hey my friend, how are you today? If you didn't already check it out, go check out my earlier post. We're talking about humility today. And what I thought I'd do is read to you a chapter out of the All of Her Christians book, because truly this chapter is so timely. I couldn't believe it when I read it, and I thought it would give a lot of hope, a lot of encouragement, breathe new life into what you may or someone you may know might be struggling with right now. So sit back and enjoy this story, and I hope it is an encouragement. It builds your faith, it builds your hope, and no matter where you come from, that you gain something and glean from something from this during this time. The story is titled Never Going to Be Alone. The winter came and it felt like I was at the bottom of the river of shame, drowning in a powerful torrent of guilt and helplessness as the flowing water pinned me down. I had found rock bottom. All the money I had made, gone. There was no savings, no reserves, and no backup plan. I'd been buried under the weight of my own debt, my own failing business, and my own bad decisions for so long that the only relief I knew was to swallow my pride and ask for help. I needed a car. I needed something that I could drive to work, something I could drive to pick up the kids from school, and something I could carry groceries in. Nothing fancy, just not a motorcycle for my family of 5. My car and my back had been destroyed in an accident and my bank account depleted, leaving me with my 2005 Yamaha as my sole means of transportation. So with everything else I had left in my spirit and nowhere else to turn, I asked my mom for money to buy a car. Like a homeless child, holding a sign, intentionally guilting passers-by into helping, I came to her at 31 years of age, as close to being on my knees as I'd ever been. The truth was, she couldn't afford it either. I knew it was wrong, and she knew it was wrong, but her mother instinct could tell my pain and desperation was real. She maxed out her credit cards for $3,000 so I could own my own used car. It was as if someone had tossed me a life-saving ring and I was able to pull myself up for a gasp of air. However, after a single breath of relief, just days later, Christmas pulled me under again. I had to choose rent or Christmas presents. Sick of seeing my kids go without, I skipped on rent. What about my wife? The woman I'd pledged to spend my whole life taking care of was about to get nothing more than I love you and a Merry Christmas as gifts this year. I couldn't look her in the eyes. I was ashamed. I'd failed her as a husband, as a father, and as a man. I was depressed. I was broken. I felt like the dirt beneath me. As we travelled south on the familiar road to visit my grandmother for Christmas, my mind wandered to the disappointment I must be, to my mistakes, my misfortune, and my wrongdoings. Just then, a loud pop snapped me back into the moment. Our old tire on our old car had just exploded at highway speed. The car I had brought to ease my anxiety just jumped that anxiety into high gear as the realization that I'd just put my family in danger. No one was hurt, but we discovered the car was not safe. And it would take twice as much what I paid for it to safely get it back on the road. With no money, the glimmer of hope was gone. The free fall was fast, dark, and horrific. It was earth-shattering. Every insecurity I'd ever felt magnified. It was the last straw as a man, a husband, a father, a business owner, and even as a human being. I felt now like nothing more than a carcass, beaten, torn to shreds, ripped asunder by life, and I just couldn't seem to get ahead of it. As a teen, I had been extremely self-destructive. I felt I had grown past my darkest season of my life and I had left it behind me. However, in this moment, I was 17 again. I wanted to cut myself. I wanted to bleed all over this life I had tried desperately but failed miserably to build. I wanted to let it all go. I wanted to drink so much booze that I'd forget not only my struggles but myself. I wanted to black out of my life completely. I wanted to wake up a different person in a new place, in a new time, and I realized it was just all a bad dream. My wife would be next to me smiling in the early morning light through the window. My kids would be safe in their beds without a care in the world. I needed help again. And this time it would take more than $3,000 for a car. It would take more than my mum. It was in that moment that I found faith. I knew I needed to change. Glancing at the stack of books on my nightstand, the word balance on the cover of the original Ula book spoke to me. In my world were to be described in a single word at that moment, unbalanced would be the word I'd choose. I began reading chapter by chapter. I saw more words, concepts, philosophies and stories, and I could see God at work. Instead of stressing, worrying and fixing, I started praying. I started reading the Bible. I started exploring what it meant to know God. I started to teach my sons to understand and to live the way Jesus lived, instead of trying desperately and unsuccessfully to use my words to explain how best to live life. And an incredible thing happened. Life changed. It all changed. And I was getting more of my to-do list done. I was able to save money. I was still able to pay bills. I was gaining new clients left and right at work. My boys were behaving better. My daughter couldn't stop smiling. My wife and I went on our first date since my daughter was born, almost 5 years ago. And my stress? Gone. Totally gone. Not because I took new meds, not because I found a coping mechanism, certainly not because I was rolling in cash. We still had the struggles we'd always had. Everything was the same, but at the same time, everything was entirely different. I had heard of God. I had been introduced to God, but now I had Him, and He was with me, and I knew it was because I could feel it. Now, instead of fighting and losing the battle of life on my own, I was supported by something bigger than my problems, bigger than anything I could ever encounter. I had help, and it felt good. Help is a funny thing. As a man, I was taught that it was a sign of weakness to get help, to need others. Now I see it differently. Help to me is not a sign of weakness, but a sign of strength. It takes strength to see the times in life when you can't go it alone. With God, I will never be alone again. I hope that was an encouragement to you, my friend, that no matter what you're going through right now, no matter what you believe, that there is a God, there is a higher power, a higher being in this universe that cares about you, that you are valued, you are valuable, and you are important, and you are not overlooked. So I hope that inspires you today. If you know someone that needs to hear this story, please tag them, share it with them. I'm going to also put it on our YouTube channel, so share it for anyone who's not on Instagram or Facebook. Go ahead in a little while and go to our YouTube channel and share it that way. Take care and God bless. I love you. Bye-bye.